Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. You are back in the program of Sharia Economic Talk with Gunawan Yasni. The progress of Sharia law in banking and financial industrial sectors has now go global, even though it's basically labeled as Islamic law. This particular economic system has infiltrated non-Muslim nations such as the United Kingdom, which is home of around 3 million Muslims, maybe more, leading the Sharia financial industry in the Europe. To have someone better explain this matter, we are already connected with Waheed Qaiser, Pioneer of Islamic Banking in the West. Also accompanied me, Sister Friderica Widyasari Dewi, the President Director of Danareksa Sekuritas, which has also developed the Sharia law transactions system in the stock exchange. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, brother and sister in Islamic law. So, Brother Waheed spent like decades within conventional banking, and I would like to ask Brother Waheed first, okay? What convinced you to move into Islamic banking, brother?
Brother Gunawan and sister, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thanks a lot for your kind invitation. The global economy has always appeared unjust to me. Huge income and wealth disparities and exploitation are all too apparent. Rewards in business are too often unrelated to effort. The rich are getting richer, and people with might in this world continue to get what they want due to their influence and also due to their strong contacts. The talent is not really rewarded its due credit most of the time that I have seen. Islam negates this concept. It teaches us fairness and transparency, along with business ethics and fair distribution of wealth in the society through various guidelines. Fiqh al-Muamalat reflects this very, very clearly. I was feeling uncomfortable since long due to riba. So there was a very clear message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I should move away from riba-based system, and hence I decided to move into Islamic finance and Islamic banking.
Wow, that is some kind of revelation from Allah to you, perhaps, like some kind of firasa or something like that.
Well, again, as I said earlier, it's a divine guidance. Mm-hmm. And if you look at riba, it's one of the 7 major sins. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has very clearly mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 278 and 279, that O you who have believed, fear Allah and give up what remains of interest, and if you should be the believers. And then in the next ayah, which is ayah 279, Allah also wants that you should be prepared for war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His messenger. But if you repent, whatever you have done in the past, or whatever your principle that is left in the past, you have not done any wrong. So the message was very clear here in this ayah, if I can summarize it, that if we repent what we have done in the past, and if we put ourselves on the right path, then obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us, and that's what we believe in. So this was again a very much a wake-up call for me to move away from riba and move into something which is very close to my deen, very close to my iman and Islam, and this was the guidance given from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that it opened up another avenue to earn my livelihood in a way which is according to to my faith, and which is in accordance with the Sharia, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, brother, mashallah. So I will next go to Sister Friderica Widyasari Dewi. Danareksa is very quick in perceiving the growth of Sharia system. That is why at the beginning of the year, Danareksa has spread its wings by developing Sharia ways. Could you tell us why Danareksa decided to dwell with the Sharia things.
Thank you very much, Mas Gunawan. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this show. First of all, congratulations. Danareksa is state-owned enterprises Sekuritas. So we always have a task to be an agent for development, as well as in the time of Sharia development in Indonesia.
Okay.
So Danareksa has been actively participating in the development of Sharia market in Indonesia. For example, for sovereign sukuk and also government corporate sukuk. Now in Danareksa, we also been actively as an underwriter for sukuk, as well as for broker-dealer for sukuk as well. For developing for Sharia investors, we're still working on it, Mas Gunawan. We are having the what's so-called Sharia online trading system. I believe.
Yes. We developed that together, right?
We've been together in developing the so-called Sharia online trading system. And when I moved to Danareksa Sekuritas, make sure that Danareksa Sekuritas will be very active in developing the Sharia market in Indonesia, especially to gain more investors from Aceh to Papua. That is basically Sharia investors.
All right. Brother Waheed and Sister Friderica, we have to take a break for a little while. So stay tuned with us on Sharia Economic Talk with Gunawan Yasni.
I remember I held an event, talking about Sharia. Invited some journalists and to talk about a subject every month. They always say, "Can you change the subject? It's not interesting." Nobody wants to talk about Sharia at the time, Mas Iwan. And now everybody is talking about Sharia. It's a subject that is everyone loves to talk about Sharia.
We're still on Sharia Economic Talk with Gunawan Yasni, Metro TV. Let's continue our discussion with Brother Waheed and Sister Friderica. Brother Waheed, as lead and co-founder of First Islamic Bank in the United Kingdom, which was also the first Islamic bank outside the Muslim world, please share your journey with my viewers. Was it a difficult task? What sort of obstacles did you face? Please tell us, brother.
I think it was quite a daunting task, but at the same time, it was quite challenging and entertaining and quite enjoyable journey for me. I remember I used to really get upset if I was not heading towards the bank after my Fajr. So after Fajr, I used to really get ready and rush off to the office and start the processes, start the building up process, and also all the policies and the procedures. In terms of the obstacles, I think they were quite unsurmountable, but with my colleagues and the guidance from Sharia, and also the cooperation that we received from all the local authorities, particularly from the FSA. I think that job became very easy. I remember, when I was grilled, before we got the license, for about, I would say, at least 4 hours, plus. But they just wanted to know that, how this, the whole, Islamic banking system would work. They just wanted to learn the processes and what sort of, risk management and the precautions and the customer care we're going to take care of. And I must appreciate here the support that we received from the government here, and in particular from the regulator.
Well, brother, is there any disappointment that you experienced while doing the Islamic bank in the United Kingdom, if I may know, of course?
Quite a few, but I think when you set your graph very high, then and if you do not achieve what you are set out to achieve, then obviously you get disappointed. Whether this is coming from the individuals, whether this is coming due to limitations on the financial front, or it is coming from other, as we call it, the dirty organization politics, which I've always hated. But the good thing is that I'm happy that I was part of the team that initiated this process, and we finally achieved our objective to set up the first Islamic bank, within the European economy, and that too in UK. And I think UK has really supported all along, whether it was the Islamic window that was at the Bank of Kuwait, which is now called Ahli United Bank, or the Islamic Bank of Britain. Actually, when we set up the bank, original name was Islamic House of Britain. Then we changed the name to Islamic Bank of Britain, which now is called Al Rayyan Bank.
All right, so I'm going to ask some more from Sister Friderica. Are there some more of your Sharia experience? You were once a business director at the Indonesia Stock Exchange, and then you become the President Director of the central custodian of the subsidiary of the Indonesia Stock Exchange. How do you endorse that? Of course, along with the National Sharia Board, Indonesian Council of Ulama.
Thank you very much, Mas Gunawan. I believe you're part of my journey.
Yes.
To discover the Sharia capital market in Indonesia. When I was as a business director in Indonesia capital market, my task was to develop the number, to increase the number of investors in Indonesia and also the number of listed issuers in Indonesia. But then I found that it was not easy to give or to deliver the message of capital market to some people in Indonesia. You know that actually the purpose of the capital market is very noble, which is to wealth distribution in people in this country. But then I found out that some people, they were having some doubt about whether investing in capital market is Sharia or not. Is it halal or not?
Usually they think of it as a gambling process, something like that.
Exactly. So I believe that it's not easy for us to tell them about how to invest in capital market if they're not sure whether it's halal or not, whether it's suitable or according to the religion. That's why I met you, Mas Gunawan, and you suggest to meet for the Indonesia Ulama Council.
Yes.
Then I was invited to present about Indonesia capital market, how it works, the system and everything.
Yes, you did.
And it came to my surprise that all the ulama there, they could get the idea of capital market very easily. Even they said that, oh, it's already actually according to Sharia, it's already comply, which is like a Ba'i al-Musawamah. It's continuous auction, which is happen in the system in the Indonesia capital market. So I knew that it must be the Ulama Council who will be able to convince people. So that's why we proposed the fatwa. So Alhamdulillah, with the so many focus group of discussion, we came out very good news that the Ulama Council agreed to have a fatwa number 80, which say that all the regular trading in Indonesia Stock Exchange was already comply to Sharia principle. Then at the time we developed more by having like Indonesia Sharia Stock Index. At the time we already had a Jakarta Islamic Index, but that's only a few stocks. Then we would like to help people to find out the list of the Sharia Index easily. So we developed the EISSI.
So after that, how do you see the market? Is it growing fast or maybe just?
It's amazingly, Mas Gunawan. So I remember, Mas Gunawan, always say this, that I remember I held an event, talking about Sharia, invited some journalists and to talk about a subject every month. they always say, can you change the subject? It's not interesting. Nobody wants to talk about Sharia at the time, Mas Iwan. And now everybody is talking about Sharia. It's very a subject that is everyone loves to talk about Sharia.
So I think there is also an angle of educating, disseminating the knowledge, which obviously is the main responsibility is of the service provider. But I think there is a certain amount of responsibility that also falls on the shoulders of the Sharia scholars and the community leaders, and also the state as well.
Back in the program again with Sharia Economic Talk, Gunawan Yasni. Some news reports reveal that there is an increase of demand for Islamic banking in the United Kingdom, in the global trend as well as in the English market. In 2019, Thomson Reuters predicts the average development growth of Sharia business assets will reach 10% between 2018 until 2023. Compared to 2012 till 2017, there is an increase of 6.1%. So, Brother Waheed, what are the next issues you see today for the Islamic banking in the West, in the UK perhaps? And maybe you can tell us more about other than banking industry, like takaful, like investment instruments in the United Kingdom as well as in the West, in Europe.
Thank you, Brother Kunamal. I think if you look at the growth of Islamic banking, since we had the first bank set up in Dubai in 1975, that was Dubai Islamic Bank, we have seen consistent growth. And at times we see growth year on year, between 15 and 20%, both in Islamic banking as well as takaful. But the base of Islamic banking and takaful has been very, very, lean or very, very, very small. So even if we keep on growing on that or leaner base, even 100% every year, I think it will take a few decades before we are able to compete with the conventional banking. In terms of the issues, I think we have two main issues: the financial capital and the human capital. And I would also add to that, I think the long-term approach of the investors. Now, let me address the financial capital first. When we set up the Islamic Bank, we started with a very small capital, which was about 14 million. Now, you can't run a bank and offer all those needed products in the market from such a small base, because it takes time to build up the deposit base, to your customer base, and also build up the confidence among the customers, and also convince them as to how we are different from the conventional bank. So I think there is also an angle of educating, disseminating the knowledge, which obviously is the main responsibility is of the service provider. But I think there is a certain amount of responsibility that also falls on the shoulders of the Sharia scholars and the community leaders, and also the state as well. And when I talk about the state, I talk particularly the Muslim states. I think if we look at the UK government, although it's not an Islamic state, but I think for the promotion of Islamic finance and even takaful, they have done a lot, and I must salute them for that. I think looking at the Muslim countries, they need to really get their heads together, and think as to what steps they can take to promote the Islamic banking and finance and also takaful.
Thank you very much, Brother Waheed. Now I'm going to ask Sister Friderica. You mentioned about National Sharia Board, right? So I would like to ask you, how is your connection to the National Sharia Board? Actually, are you in the National Sharia Board or?
Alhamdulillah, Mas Gunawan, I'm one of the member of the National Sharia National Board.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah. And I feel so lucky to be in the community, because it really comes to my surprise that those people They are very knowledgeable in religion, but they are very open-minded people, so they can accept a new concept easily, as long as match with the values that we also believe. So in that, we have been having a very good discussion about Sharia products, whether it's stocks, bonds, asset-backed securities, and everything. So I'm feeling very happy and lucky to be part of it, so I can contribute. As you may also aware that the development of capital markets is very, very amazing. Now it's probably more than 60% of the listed stocks are already in Sharia stocks.
Of course, yes.
Also, now in COVID time, if you realize, the growth of the retail investor is also amazing. And the thing that is very interesting, Mas Gunawan, almost 70% of the activity of the retail investor is in Sharia stocks.
So you also feel that is going on in your Danareksa securities?
Yes, the interest is there. We have lots of questions from people who are very interested in investing in Sharia stocks. So also we prepare for the system, and also we do the education. Now Danareksa Sekuritas is acquired by Bank Rakyat Indonesia, BRI, the biggest bank in assets. So we believe with the synergy of Danareksa and BRI, we can even penetrate more in the Sharia market from Aceh to Papua, inshallah.
Yeah, because they have a very, very, very thick and huge branches all over Indonesia.
Base of investors,
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Waheed, Sister Friderica. We have to take a break for a little while. So, viewers of Sharia Economic Talk with Gunawan Yasni, stay tuned with us.
The Islamic investment funds have performed better than the conventional funds. The quality of the assets within the Islamic finance is better than the conventional ones. And the reason for that is because there's no speculation that happens within Islamic finance.
The atmosphere of the development of Sharia banking and economic systems are tremendous. And now I would like to ask Sister Friderica Widyasari Dewi about Danareksa Securities. Danareksa Securities is known as significant underwriter. Either it is a sovereign sukuk or the sukuk corporations. And well, Danareksa is still tremendous, of course, in this underwriting business. How do you see that, and how do you follow the tremendous things that Danareksa Securities has already have in the future, of course, as the President Director of Danareksa Securities now?
I feel very grateful to join Danareksa Securities, one of the pioneers in the capital market. As part of the state-owned enterprises in Indonesia, we have become the agent of development of the government. We also helping state-owned enterprises to raising fund from the capital market. And we also actively encourage them to have the fundraising through Sharia products such as sukuk. So also we also help companies from private sectors to have a fundraising also in Sharia products. And I can also share, Mas Gunawan, Danareksa Sekuritas not only focusing on the issuer part, but also from the investor side. So we focusing on both sides, demand and supply. Because I believe if we want to grow a market, we have to be focusing on both sides, supply and demand. So in terms of demand side, we are currently having like almost 100,000 investors, but this year only, we will acquire like 61,000 new investors. Some of them are Sharia investors. And I see it is along with the growth in the capital market, the number of stock that is in Sharia stock listed, it's more than doubled from 10 years ago. I remember 10 years ago, Mas Iwan, it was only like 200 companies that is as a Sharia stock, but now it's more than double.
Yes.
And also the number of Sharia investors in the capital market also have been growing significantly. Probably in 5 years, it's like 15 times the number growing. And I see the opportunities there, Mas Gunawan, especially in, for example, in mutual fund, because I see from the total of mutual fund size in Indonesia, in terms of the number of the product, is maybe only 10 or 13%, and also the percentage of the total asset under management is only around 10%. But I see so many parties like Financial Service Authority, Indonesia Stock Exchange, together with all parties that is related to the development of the Sharia in Indonesia. We've been working very closely, hand in hand, and also with Bank of Indonesia. And we believe that the room to grow is still huge, Mas Gunawan. So we see it's coming, together with the belief that Indonesia will be the biggest economy in the world. Yeah, we have a huge population, the demand is there. We are a country with the biggest Muslim population in Indonesia, in the world. So I believe it's a huge opportunity. So we have to be very focusing on working on this sector, this segment, and we believe that Indonesia will be one of the leader in Sharia economic in the future. Yeah.
Inshallah. Amen. So next I would go to Brother Waheed to ask some more questions. Brother Waheed Qaiser, there are other investment products that also apply the Sharia system. How successful have those products been in Europe? Of course, you are the pioneer in the West. So specifically, of course, in United Kingdom. How do you see that? Like other instruments like investment instruments, Sharia investment instruments perhaps, and also the takaful, also in like mortgages, other financial services?
I think one of the key things or the key element for any success in any product or service is being competitive. And the other one I would say is the service excellence. Now, if you look at the statistics, even for last 20, 30 years, the Islamic investment funds have performed better than the conventional funds. The quality of the assets within the Islamic finance is better than the conventional ones. And the reason for that is because there's no speculation that happens within Islamic finance. There's no gharar. And I think that is the beauty, and obviously in compliance with the Sharia tenets as well. I would also like to comment, on your previous question that you posed to Sister. I think looking at the Indonesian GDP at 1.2 trillion today, I think Islamic finance can certainly play a major role in the growth of GDP there as well. As Sister had given quite a few suggestions, and I think there are a lot of funds that can be created, a lot of structure that can be created, in order to give it a boost. And I think one of the things that the Indonesian institutions should do, especially the state institutions and also the sovereign wealth fund, that they should try and take, even if it is a very, very minor percentage stake in all those initiatives. And I think that will give a lot of confidence to the other investors.
The retail investor has been very actively trading in this kind of in this pandemic time. We believe that focusing on developing retail capital market in Indonesia, especially from Sharia investor, is very important.
Back again in program of Sharia Economic Talk with Gunawan Yasni. I'm going to ask directly to Brother Waheed Qaiser. Do you think Islamic banking will ever become the mainstream alternative to the conventional banking, brother?
Inshallah, why not? I think in last 45 years, there's a lot of groundwork has been done. A lot of efforts have been put at individual, institutional, and state levels. And I think this is the right time for us to put on our accelerator and move to the next stage. But I think it can only move forward and offer an alternative mainstream framework if we have a systematic and organized approach. We cannot just keep on building institutions like mushrooms with a very little capital, with very little strategy or no strategy at all, or weak strategy. I think we need to really work hard on that. If we want to compete with the world giants, then we need to employ all those relevant resources and the talent that is out there in the marketplace. We need to have right incentives, the right packages, the right career growth path for those people. Only then we will be able to attract them. We also have to have the right incentives, the financial incentives for the investors in order to attract that additional capital, so that we can build up a world-class financial institutions. Today, I'm really struggling to call any of the institutions as a world-class Islamic banking institution. I'm sorry to say, I do not mean to be disrespectful to any institution, but I think the reality is out there, written out on the walls. So we need to really take a good stock of ourselves. We do need to do some sort of self-assessment and see what are the weaknesses we have today, how we can put them right, and how we can move to the next stage. The platform is set. We just need to have a focus. We just need to forget about that Islamic banking at Takaful is a charity house. It is not. It operates on commercial basis, and it has to be given time to develop. So we have to have the long-term approach. We cannot just do the shortcuts and then expect that we can compete with the mainstream banking and the mainstream insurance groups.
Wow, very nice advice from Brother Waheed Qaiser. Okay, next to Sister Friderica Widyasari Dewi. We have this pandemic COVID-19 condition, especially in Indonesia and all around the world. How do you manage to survive? I mean, you and your company to manage Danareksa Sekuritas.
Yes, it has been a tough year for us, and I believe also for everyone in the business around the world. It's really come to surprise what is happening now, the pandemic. I believe that those who are still living now haven't experienced this kind of situation before, maybe few. And for Danareksa itself, we have some business focus. First is advisory services. We are one of the best in advisory services, Mas Gunawan. And the second is in the investment banking. For bond, it's still okay, but for IPO, it's very tough year.
Okay.
And the third one, we have a broker-dealer, whether it's for institutional client or for retail. For institutional client, I think now some of them still wait and see. But interestingly is the growth of the activity of retail investors, Mas Gunawan. So I think to draw the line, so now we know that we have to focus on the development of retail investors.
Okay.
And it is proven, Mas Gunawan, it's also become the cushion of the activity of investment in Indonesia capital market. The retail investor has been very actively trading in this kind of in this pandemic time. Probably because people are working from home, and as I said, to draw the line of this, we believe that focusing on developing retail investor, retail capital market in Indonesia, especially from Sharia investor, is very important time now. So this is the time for us to focus. As I also mentioned before, we are working on our Sharia online trading system, and we're focusing on recruiting human capital who are have ability to to speak and to teach about Sharia capital market.
Okay.
So we working on these two sides, Mas Gunawan, from supply side and demand side. So Danareksa has the ability to do both. So I hope that this pandemic time will over soon, yeah, with the vaccine that will be discovered soon. Inshallah, next year will be better. Yeah, together we will be able to pass this difficult time.
Inshallah. So I will try to conclude from both of your perspectives, Brother Waheed Qaiser and Sister Friderica Widyasari Dewi. First, financial inclusiveness of Sharia banking, Sharia capital market, Sharia finance is pretty significant. Some part of it needs to be touched by all parties, not just the private sector like Danareksa Sekuritas, not just from some senior advisors like Brother Waheed Qaiser, of course, but all. The government should, do some financial inclusiveness in Sharia banking, Sharia capital market, Sharia insurance, and Sharia finance, I guess. And second is, it has to touch as many people as it can, right? So, like you said, like Sister Friderica Widyasari Dewi said, retail in the pandemic COVID-19 is increasing. I mean, the number of the participation from the retail investors, right? So it has to touch as many as people as it can. So the financial inclusiveness can be both achieved in the demand side as well as in the supply side. But we come to the end of our episode. So Brother Waheed Qaiser and Sister Friderica Widyasari Dewi, we thank you all. And of course, me, Gunawan Yasni, and all crew member of the Metro TV, we are going to see you again in the next episode of Sharia Economic Talk with Gunawan Yasni. We are signing off. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Metro TV, knowledge to elevate.